Hi, it's Lorna. Welcome back. And today we're going to be learning about alcohol ink. So alcohol ink is just a type of ink that is alcohol soluble, which is why it's called alcohol ink. The alcohol that I'm going to be using today is 91% isopropyl alcohol. You just want to make sure that it is over 90%, otherwise the alcohol will have a difficult time moving the pigment around the paper. The alcohol inks themselves are pure pigment mixed with ethanol and propanol and isopropanol and glycol ethers, which just means they have a whole bunch of different types of alcohol in them. The alcohol blending solution has those same types of alcohols in them. So essentially, the alcohol blending solution is just a clear alcohol ink. Alcohol ink will move other alcohol inks around, and that's because they have the alcohol in them, which will push the other inks around. The alcohol blending solution, for whatever reason, even though it's the same ingredients, the same types of alcohol that are in the inks, I find that it tends to make the substrate a little bit sticky. So I tend to just use isopropyl alcohol, and isopropyl alcohol is also about a fifth of the cost, so that's also great. So the colors I'm using today are going to be Wild Plum, Stream, and Butterscotch. But they come in a variety of colors and brands, and the ones I'm using are Tim Holtz brand. They're the ones that I prefer, but I have used Pinata inks, and I've used Hobby Lobby's brand, and they are just as good. The Pinata ones, the color range is great, but they don't have as many tertiary colors as Tim Holtz does. I also have here some mixatives, and I'll be talking about the different types of substrates that we're going to be using. If you are not a fan of color mixing, you might want to pick out colors that you're more comfortable with using straight out of the tube. The colors that I've chosen, the Wild Plum, Butterscotch, and the Stream, is it Stream? Yes, Stream, are the closest that I've found to a good primary color that they sell in a pack. So Tim Holtz sells packs of 3 usually. Sometimes it's called Adirondack, depending on where you are. But the 3-pack that is the closest to primary colors is this one. And I'm not sure what the actual name of it is, but it has Stream, Butterscotch, and Wild Plum in it. So if you search for those colors, usually that kit will come up. The Wild Plum is more of a magenta, but it makes a really nice orange, and it also makes a really great purple when mixed with the blue. So I highly recommend this one for beginners. If you're not sure what colors to get, this one will give you all the colors of the rainbow, which you'll see. So I have a alcohol pen. I'm not going to use it for this tutorial, but it's just something I wanted to show you that's kind of cool. I have a paintbrush. I usually dedicate a paintbrush just to alcohol ink. It doesn't need to be special. The little bottle here is just a dropper, and it has isopropyl alcohol in it. And the number one tool that I use is typically a straw. So I recommend having a straw, whether it be a disposable one or a reusable one. So these mixatives I'll show you later. I'm not going to talk about those right this second. They're quite difficult to use, so I'll only be showing those at the very end. So the papers that I'm going to be using are Canon photo paper, and the Canon photo paper is great because the plastic on the back, and it has resin on the front. So the resin side you can use alcohol ink on, but it will seep in. So the back is what we're after, even though it has these little Canon's logos printed all over it. That's okay. We're going to cover that with the majority of our ink. And I've found that if I use enough isopropyl alcohol on them, I can actually just rub them out. You can use other brands of photo paper and just use the back side. Again, the back side is what you want, not the front. I know it makes sense that ink goes into the paper, but if you think about a printer, the front side that you print on with the resin is meant to suck in ink. So if that's the desired look that you want with your alcohol ink, is you want it to seep in, use the front by all means. But if you want to use the back, it'll make it a smoother transition from the plastic. So Yupo paper or Yupo paper, I have translucent and medium, and you just want to get the type that's meant for what you're doing. If you're using heat, you want to get a thicker Yupo paper. These little plastic chips here, they're just hard plastic. They sell them as canvases for alcohol ink, but I don't know. They're not really canvas. They're just pieces of plastic. But they're pretty cool. So you want to make sure that the paper meets your needs, right? So the translucent is cool because you can hang it in a window, and it's kind of clear, and it's just as thick as the medium weight. It just has, it's not as opaque. The medium Yupo paper I find is great for everything, including using with a hair dryer if the hair dryer is on a low heat setting. If you use any higher heat than a hair dryer, you definitely want to get heavyweight Yupo paper. So these little chips, I think they're for like making magnets and nameplates and things like that for crafting and gifts. They were on sale, so I got them, so we're going to try them out today. I do have some larger ones that they do sell that I experimented with here. This is just a little flower. I have some of that gold mixative in there. But they sell them in a bunch of different shapes, from triangles to squares. I think it might be cool to do a tiled effect with them, which is why I got them. They came in a pack with the hearts and these little nameplate kind of ones, but I don't think I'll be using those that much. You can also use alcohol-based alcohol-based markers with alcohol ink, and they will dissolve with the isopropyl just as much as the alcohol inks do. So if you don't have alcoholic ink at home, you could actually do a lot of this just with your alcohol-based markers. I don't recommend going out and using your expensive Copic markers for this, but you could. So I have my photo paper laid out on my cookie sheet. I'm just using a cookie sheet from the dollar store, nothing special. I'm just gonna lay out a few drops of color. And I'm gonna do this for all three types of paper. So I'm gonna go from the Canon to the translucent to the medium. So I'm just adding drops of color, and you could stop at any given point. So if you like the way it looks, stop. One of the hardest things with alcohol inks is knowing when to stop. And a few times in this video, I get something that I really like, and then I'm like, I'm just a little bit more, and I keep going, and I'm like, no, I don't like it as much, right? So because of the nature of the material that we're using, it's a very difficult medium to control. If you were to put on the ink instead of just right out of the tube and using it like a palette with a paintbrush, I'll show you that later, where you put it on the pan and then you just dip your brush into it and applicate, and you can get a little bit more control in that way. But I really like the unpredictable movement of the alcohol ink, so I tend to do it just out of the tube. So I have my handy dandy straw, and I'm just gonna blow around. So there's two different types of blowing with the straw. So you wanna, I just knocked over my alcohol. That's okay, we're gonna keep going. So you just need to blow lightly if you're wanting some softer, rounder effects with blending, or if you want a sharp line, you want to blow hard. So the softer you blow, the softer your lines and blending will be. The harder you blow, the further the ink will travel. And I do a method where I kind of chase the ink while I'm blowing so that it kind of moves around the paper, and you'll see that. So I just cleaned my cookie sheet with isopropyl alcohol and a paper towel, and it's good to go for the next one. I'm just gonna work 2 at a time, but you're welcome to take yours off. They dry really quickly, so that's a really fun thing, is you don't have to have a wet thing laying around. If you are busy or you have kids, it's a really great thing to do because it will dry before they can get their hands in it. So I highly recommend this if you don't have a lot of time, because these can go really quick. You can just have it set up wherever you want, and then it takes maybe 5 minutes. You can experiment a little bit, get some art into your busy day. It can be a really fun, relaxing thing to do. So if I'm just dropping on ink and I'm working wet, so I'm not letting that alcohol really dry, at the end on my medium weight Yupo paper, I'm going to show you a little bit of how to do it with alcohol and ink and not just the ink, so that you can get a lighter, because I'm building up a lot of pigment here, which is what I want. But if you wanted a lighter, wispier look, I'll show you how to do that. I'll do an all blue one with alcohol and the ink, and I'll add a little bit of the mixative in there too. So I'm just going back and forth, and for my center I am adding a little bit of an orangey pink, so I'm adding a little bit of yellow and some of this wild plum. And I'm going for like a flower, right? So I have my petals all blown out. Kind of reminds me of a little bit of a dahlia with some maybe wispies. It could be carnation, those types of flowers. So I'm just going to do a few flowers here, and then I'm going to show you how to paint using your cookie sheet as a palette. If you don't have a cookie sheet, that's fine. You can line something with aluminum foil. You can do this right on some newspaper, but you want to make sure that you're protecting your work surface. You can put down some plastic. I've used trash bags that we cut up and put those over a table, and that worked quite nicely because you can just toss that when we're done. So I'm going to be doing these methods for all of the rest of the substrates. Again, I did Canon first, then I'm doing the translucent, then I'm doing the medium. So if you are curious about what papers I'm using, that's the order that I'm doing it in: Canon, translucent, and then medium. So I'm going to let you guys go ahead and watch this. Oh, and then I'm going to do the little chips at the very end using some of the mixatives. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Continue watching all the way to the end to see how the other papers work. If you like this video and you would like to see more, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified of when we have new videos up. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy.